Creative thinking is a recognized, teachable skill that leads to deeper learning and better knowledge transfer. But most corporate training ignores it entirely. And that matters because creative thinking is consistently ranked among the top skills employers value. When learners think creatively, their motivation increases, and while you may never get the budget to teach creative thinking directly, you can design your delivery in a way that fosters it. My name is Jordon Taylor with the Corporate Training Companion, and today I want to break down 4 tips that you can immediately use to foster creative thinking in your sessions. So let's jump in. Starting with tip number 1, prime the topic. The unconscious mind needs ingredients before it can start to cook. Think about it like a slow cooker. You add everything you need early so the flavors can blend together over time. So how do corporate trainers prime a topic? Well, there's a few best practices that I'll share with you. One is to send out a question or two via email before the session, maybe a day or two before. Give people something to sit with before they even walk into the room. You could do this with video or a short reel, asking those same questions. If you don't have the ability to do that, you can also tee things up in session before breaks or lunch. By priming a topic and saying, this is what we're going to talk about when we get back from our break, you plant that seed in their unconscious mind, and their unconscious mind will start to break that idea down. So when they get back from break or when they get back from lunch, they will already have a few ideas. All of these approaches do the same thing. They give the unconscious mind time to work before you ask it to produce something. On to tip number 2, which is about environment. The environment you train in has a direct impact on how creatively your participants can think. And here's why. In strong stimulus environments, your conscious mind is working overtime just to process everything around it, while your unconscious mind barely gets a chance to do anything. Think about walking through Times Square, for instance. Billboards, traffic, honking, giant screens, flashing advertisements, people everywhere. There's too much going on for your unconscious mind to make connections or generate ideas. It's just trying to keep up. Now think about a quiet walk through a suburban neighborhood. There's not much to process consciously, so your unconscious mind starts to wander. It starts making connections between unrelated things. That is where creative thinking lives, which begs the question, how does this play out in a training room? We obviously can't go walking through suburban neighborhoods every session. Well, here's some things you can do. Think about reducing distractions. Your slides should be clean and clear, not a wall of text that participants have to read while you're talking. Think about the lighting, the sound, what is on the walls. You don't need a sterile hospital vibe, but you do want to be thoughtful about what is pulling your participants' attention away from the ideas that you're trying to plant. In virtual trainers, this applies to you too. Background noise, cluttered virtual backgrounds, slides packed with information, all of it competes for conscious attention and leaves less room for the unconscious to do its thing. So be thoughtful about your environment. And that leads us to tip number 3, which is all about timing. When you schedule your training matters more than people realize. Research suggests that cognitive peak times for most people fall somewhere between an hour and a half and 5 hours after waking up. So if you assume your participants are waking up around 7 a.m., the optimal window to run your training is roughly between 8:30 in the morning and 1:30 in the afternoon. For shorter workshops that run 1 to 4 hours, try to stick to that window as much as you can. For multi-day onboarding or full-day programs, you may not always have that luxury, but be as intentional as possible about your start time, even if you can't control everything. Your participants' ability to think creatively and retain information is directly tied to when you're asking them to do it. Last but not least, tip number 4, which is active reflection time. And this one might be a little less obvious than the others, but it's just as important. Active reflection time gives participants a dedicated moment to think creatively, break down ideas, and come prepared to contribute. Whether that's sharing in a group discussion, working through a scenario, or just connecting ideas they've been sitting with. It is those quiet moments, 2 to 3 minutes, a clear target, a prompt to write down a few thoughts that do more work than most trainers realize. Here's some context that might help this idea land. A lot of the most significant scientific discoveries in history happened during moments of rest. The periodic table came from Dmitri Mendeleev in a dream. Newton came up with the idea of gravity while resting under a tree and watching an apple fall. Einstein described many of his breakthrough ideas as arriving during periods of daydreaming. These are not people who forced the answer. They let their unconscious minds do the work. Your participants are no different. When you build reflection time into your sessions, you're giving their unconscious minds permission to make connections, not just to recall what you said, but to think creatively about how it applies to them and what they might do with that information in the real world. So give them 2 to 3 minutes, a clear prompt, and a quiet place to think. So those are your 4 tips for fostering creativity in your sessions: priming, environment, timing, and reflection. 4 tips to foster more creative thinking in your sessions and help participants make connections with your content that actually stick. If you found this helpful, hit that like button to help others find it as well. And if you want more tips like this, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I'd also encourage you to join the Corporate Training Companion community, where you'll find a variety of free resources, including the free Corporate Trainer Crash Course. The link is in the description. My name is Jordon Taylor with the Corporate Training Companion. Until next time.